I'm very pleased to welcome you all to this Global Summit on Local Leadership 2022, organized by DEPROSC Nepal in collaboration with C4 Uganda. Distinguished keynote speakers, panelists, moderators, interpreters, and participants, we are honored to have you all with us. I'm more than grateful to welcome you all in this Global Summit on Local Leadership on behalf of LHL Summit organizing team. This LHL Summit is an initiative of LHL Network, a global community of practice spread in 25 countries and comprised of 120 members from local and national organizations, Oxfam country offices, staffs, and other allies and supporters of localization and local humanitarian leadership. An idea started from LHL Network is finally taking its shape today as Global Summit on Local Leadership after weeks of continuous effort of LHL Summit organizing team. It is a big event for all of us. The program is designed shaped in a way to attract the interest of the participants. Without further delay, I'd like to start the opening ceremony where we have three distinguished speakers. Now, I'd like to invite Nibha Shrestha, Acting Country Director for Nepal Oxfam, for welcome remarks. Here is her short bio. Nibha Shrestha is a resourceful and dynamic development and human rights professional with about 20 years of experience in developing and managing development and humanitarian programs for different ranges of donors. She joined Oxfam in Nepal in April 2020 as head of programs and has been taking responsibility as acting country director since February 2021. Over to you, Nibha Shrestha.
Thank you so much, Ashniji. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a warm welcome. I'm Nibha Shrestha. On behalf of Oxfam, I'm very delighted to see the humanitarian actors across the world to share learning on the local leadership in humanitarian action from government, private sectors, academia, faith-based organizations and groups, women rights and women-led organizations, media, international and UN agencies. You all know that Oxfam is signatories for Grand Bargain and Charter for Change, as we believe that local humanitarian leadership is must for the effective and efficient humanitarian response and to achieve impact at scale. Whenever disaster strikes, it is local group and organizations who will be the first one to act upon. They understand the local need, they understand local languages, cultures, geography. And in current situation, many of the local organizations and the national governments are well capacitated to respond to the humanitarian crisis. But again, we still face inequalities in the humanitarian system. The larger bilateral UN or any other international agencies are the one who receive maximum amounts of the funds and have more say in decision making during the humanitarian crisis management. So local humanitarian leadership network is the global community of practice that is spread in 25 countries, comprised of more than 120 members from local and national organizations, Oxfam country offices, staff, and other allies and supporters of localization and local humanitarian leadership. Local humanitarian leadership summit that we are conducting from today is the initiative of local humanitarian leadership network, and we believe that this initiative will support in bringing equality in humanitarian system at large. We would like to thank and celebrate the local actors who have conceptualized and organized this summit, which is led by DEPROSC Nepal and C4 Uganda. We also would like to thank other colleagues, Oxfam staff, allies, and networks of local humanitarian leaderships, most specifically A4EP, Asia Pacific Refugee Rights Network, and Feminist Network, who provided their immense support in organizing this event. We also will be welcoming new allies from the private sector and other communities of practice like the local humanitarian network, and want to make our connection and brokering stronger so that we can bring local issues at the global level without losing on the ground context and bringing the local leadership upfront. Thank you once again. Welcome.
Thank you, Nibha Shrestha, for your remarks. On behalf of DEPROSC Nepal, I'd also like to thank Oxfam team for their invaluable support and guidance throughout organizing this LHL Summit. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Puji Pujiono, our keynote speaker for this summit. Puji Pujiono, Senior Advisor of Pujini Center and a proponent of CESAR Indonesia, an outgoing Sherpa or official representative of local and national CSOs to the Grand Bargain. He is an Indonesian social worker and disaster risk manager with more than 25 years of experience in national, regional, and international disaster management and humanitarian affairs. He has a doctoral degree in public administration, focusing on disaster preparedness and masters in social work. Over to you, Dr. Puji.
Thank you for that very generous introduction. I almost could not recognize myself with the introduction. But thank you, Asmi, for very introducing myself. Colleagues, listen, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Puji. It's really an honor for me to be with you today. This is one of those dreams that come true. And with colleagues from Nepal, the hosting this is really a treat for me. So I think keynote speech is the first statement. What I would like to share with you is how I think, how I feel about what's happening, right? First of all, this so-called summit. Summit is usually a meeting of leaders, the top leaders. Maybe all we are top leaders, right? So the summit is a meaningful in variety of ways. The first one, perhaps this proof that actually we can do it. When we want it, we can actually do it, right? Many of us have been dreaming about meeting, leaders from the global south in one place and so on. And with hard work and collaboration, it could happen as you see it today. Now, other people might see it as a simple thing, but I think it's quite significant. Seeing the recently leaving the Sherpa seat at the Grand Bargain, I feel truly that I wish I had this 9 months ago, right? When I sit as a Sherpa representing the global south, I was standing on a cloud. I have no footprint, a real footprint, except some conversation with global south leaders. Otherwise, I'm relying on a very, very fuzzy, foundation. So this summit shows that it can be built. And I'm truly hope and congratulate my colleague from A4EP who is taking over now. You have a very better solid ground. So congratulations on that reason, yeah? Number two, looking at the range of people who are participating in this conversation, from Africa, from Latin America, from the Pacific, I think it is possible to call this part of the world maybe closer, not truly, closer to become a global south. Again, going back to my experience, my recent experience in the Grand Bargain, when I said I am representing the global south, it's an image, an idea of global south. But you and I never know what it looks like, right? But with this summit now, we can always see and feel this is what the global south feels like. When our colleague from DEPROSC, Nepal, when our South America, Southeast Asia, Pacific talking together, this is what the global south. This, of course, is the beginning of a journey. I hope that this will continue and effort get consolidated. The other side of that, this kind of summit brings to the center our colleagues who under normal circumstances may not be there. Because our colleague in Fiji, for example, because they are so in the corner of the world, but it depends how you look at it. They actually could be in the center of the world. You know what I mean? If you turn the picture around, but whatever you say, they are far away from everything. This summit brings them on the table together with us. Those who are physically separated or marginalized, what other people say. And then colleagues who are, because of the characteristic that they have, they become marginalized. The religious belief, the sectarian, holding, their sexual orientation, put them to the margin. You know what I mean? LGBTQ, rural women, whatever. This summit is yet another platform to bring them to be part of the meaningful conversation. That's the third meaning of this summit to me. Right. The fourth one, as this is part of building of the constituent of the Global South. My congratulations to you with an expectation. I hope what we start will continue. Because in my, I don't know, 120 years of my age now, I don't know how old I am, but I've started many things. If you look at the back of my office, of my house, you will have a lot of graveyard of initiatives that I have started. Just that did not prosper. For one way or another. Some of them are great and grand, some are small. But one thing is real. Unless we carry this together, the summit, and we continue to the next step, this will become yet another graveyard in our backyard. Yeah. So this is a calling. Let's start what we have now and continue. In a keynote speech, I'm saying at a very high level, conceptual, normative message, so that I will not take over anybody's, agenda today. And lastly, colleagues, with that, I am looking at the concrete thing as well. In front of us, at least for those in Asia Pacific, in September, there's going to be Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference on disaster risk management, risk reduction. I think what we can do is also think and capitalize on milestones in front of us. And whatever we discussed today, the remaining agenda, we should take it forward. Yeah, we take it forward. Not and then the whole thing, but piece by piece, and ever go back to the original platform. So I hope that next time we can bring back. This is what Janice has been talking in Australia in September, and this is what the response has been, and how we build ourselves this way. Finally, colleague, with Smruti and other colleagues from A4EP in the house, we have our lives in their hands, Smruti. We have our I said to you during the handover that I'm not going anywhere. I'm just taking a seat right behind you, and pledge our support to you. And I hope that our colleague in this platform will feel that you are not there fighting your cause alone. No matter how local you are, we have Smruti and friends and A4EP as our pipeline. Use them, work with them. Okay, talk among ourselves and bring those pearls, those wisdoms to them to raise it. We can hold them accountable whether they actually report it or not, and bring it back to us. But it's not perfect. But this is what we have. All right. So this is how we build this movement together. So I hope I don't take the limelight or the carpet from anybody's ground, but really a call from my side with a lot of hindsight. So again, my parting words with, I wish I had this 9 months ago, but it didn't happen. It happens now. Let's make the best out of it. I will always truly and remain behind and walking with you and do whatever I can on my side. With that, I would like to add my so-called keynote speech with a lot of hope and expectation. Asmi, over to you then. Thank you very much, colleague. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Puji, for bringing your experience and expertise around the table. Very rightly said. I hope what will start will continue. We need to definitely work on it. Thank you, Dr. Puji, once again. Now we have a last speaker for the opening ceremony. I would like to invite Mr. Ganesh Kumar Kesi, Program Advisor of DEPROSC Nepal and even lead of LHL Summit. Mr. Kesi has more than 40 years of experience with both government of Nepal and non-governmental organizations at various capacities. He has been working with various major donors. So over to you, Ganesh Kumar Kesi.
Thank you, Ashmi. Hello, everybody. Respected participants, local humanitarian partners from different path and corner of the world, member Oxfam family, donor friends, Madam Nibha, Shrestha, and Dr. Pujiono. In this opening ceremony, I would like to wish you a very pleasant good morning, good day, good afternoon, and good evening, and all in one. Namaskar. This is Ganesh Kesi on behalf of the members of Summit Organization team and DEPROSC Nepal and SAFOR Uganda. I'm delighted to extend once again very warm welcome to you all on this global summit on local leadership organized by the team of the local partners with guidance, best wishes from all our good research, especially from America. Friends, finally we are here today for the global summit. After weeks of hard work and continuous efforts of summit organizing team. No doubt, DEPROSC Nepal and the SAFOR Uganda feel lucky to be the part of this versatile and dedicated team members who really did very hard to get to this moment. I must say it is an honor for the local humanitarian players, many like us. We all know that localization of humanitarian response has gained momentum after the launch of Grand Bargain in the World Humanitarian Summit 2016. No matter what disaster happens around the world, it's always the community, the local actors that are the first to reach, respond, as local organizations are often better placed to respond faster. And we all know local knowledge means better understanding of the need. Thus, we strongly feel we need to find the right balance between the local and the international actors. An equitable partnership must be developed among the local and international actors, where the leadership, knowledge, capacities of the communities, local organizations, and authorities are genuinely respected and further empowered. However, we local players also need to understand the importance of the quality funding in localization. 2020 LSS Summit has overarching theme, local leadership as an approach to reduce risk, respond to crisis, and sustain community gains. As Dr. Puji just now said, we need to continue it, we need to sustain it, but we're starting. This supports the goal of LSL network, which is focused on the practical implications, success, and the challenges of adopting a local humanitarian leadership approach in different communities, spanning the spectrum of reducing risk, protecting development gains, and leading on humanitarian leadership, responses, and etc. The recent COVID crisis, we all know, has highlighted how investing in the local communities, in local players, local organization is important to combat any crisis. Well, friend, very practical and interesting sessions are in the menu. Please join. Enjoy the many sessions, very practical, enriching, heart-touching sessions are in the menu. We must feel there. We must reach there. That will make us the importance of local organization. Well, this summit basically is unique in a way that it is trying to highlight the role of local actors based on their unique role and position, and recognize the local leadership together with other development partners in different thematic areas, transforming the aid system to be more sustainable and just, innovative financing and emergency response funding model, women's leadership in humanitarian action, refugee-led responses in the world of upheaval. Without much ado, now I would like to thank and convey best regards to you, Madam Nibha, Dr. Puji, for your heart-touching and kind words for the humanitarian local players in this opening. I would like to convey my best regards to the panelists, moderator, presenters, and the participants for accepting our invitation to be part of the global event. We are honored to have you all. Without much now, on behalf of all the humanitarian partners, I would like to start with the events. I wish you all a very productive session with exciting and encouraging discussion and exchange of knowledge, so that together we can anticipate a future groundbreaking knowledge and localization of humanitarian aid with strong local leadership. Enjoy these events. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ashmi.
Thank you, Mr. Ganesh Kumar Kisi, for your remarks. Thank you for taking this initiation of organizing LSL Summit and bringing us all together. Now we are at the end of the opening session. It's been an honor to have you all present in this opening session. Next, we have a panel discussion on transforming the aid system to be more sustainable and just, convened by A4EP Network. We also have a standalone presentation on making headway to localization in the Philippines by Growth Alliance. So I'd like to request the participants to refer the Zoom link in the chat box, or the invite is sent to you. I wish you all the productive session and encouraging discussion. Happy learning.
Yes, so we now go to the second session. Over to our colleagues from, this is the link. So for those of you who are attending the panel on transforming aid, this is the link. You don't have to go. You can just stay here, grab a coffee and come back. But for those who will be going to another parallel session, the growth, the Balaod session, you will need to go to another link. And Joy, is it possible to the learning laboratory? Maybe can I paste it here?
Welcome, everybody. So my name is Smriti Patel. I'm the Director of Global Mentoring Initiative and also the International Coordinator for Alliance for Empowering Partnerships. We will tell you more about the Alliance a bit later, but I would like to first go to also Nanette, who is the co-moderator. So Nanette, please introduce yourself.
Hello, good afternoon from the Philippines. Good day and good evening, everyone, wherever you are. I'm Nanette Antequisa, and of EcoWeb and A4EP, and yeah, welcome to our session.
Thank you. Iqbal and Yamuna, please introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Bangladesh. My name is Iqbal Uddin. I work in an organization named COAST, and it is the member of A4EP. So wishing you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Iqbal. He's going to be helping us with the Q&A session. And Yamuna, please. Are you able to open your camera? Yes.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Yomna and I work at Community World Service Asia based in Pakistan. We work on gender, livelihood and humanitarian disasters. So excited to be a part of the panel.
Great, thank you very much. Angelina, are you able to open your camera? I think she had a message that she cannot open her camera. So can you give her permission, please?
No, it's okay. I can open it now. I had to switch to
Okay. Brilliant. Okay, great. So welcome everybody and thank you for being here. As they said, this is really looking at how do we transform aid. So we are really hoping to have a great interactive discussions with you, with the panelists and also you as the participants. Thank you, Angelina, we can see you. So could we have the slides, please? Thank you very much. So really welcome, and please do, if you haven't put your name already on the slide, on the chat, please do so. Next, please. So please do try and put your name, your organization, so that we know who you are. Next, please. Sorry, I'm not able to navigate the slides, so it'd be great. Thank you. And please do use the chat box for chatting to each other, but also there's a question and answer box. So if you want to ask any questions, please put them there, because later on, both Iqbal and Yamuna will be looking out for your questions to make sure we deal with them. And if you have any insights and the comments that you hear from the panelists, don't hesitate, because we really want this to be a very interactive session. Next, please. Just for those who has to listen to the interpretation, you will see at the bottom of the bar, there is this interpretation circle. You press that button. When you press it, you will see that there is interpretation available in Spanish only at the moment. So you can switch into that. You know, if you need any help, then just put a message in the chat if you're having any kind of problem. But right now we only have the Spanish interpretation, not French and Arabic yet, but hopefully they will join. And you know, make sure that you are muted at all times until you have to speak, just so that you know, each of the panelists can be heard. So thank you very much for that. Next, please. So I just wanted to go through the session with you. So first part of the morning will be really looking at who is in the room, because we've introduced ourselves, but I also really want to know who you all are. Then we will have a panel discussion. We've got really distinguished panelists and Nanette, who's going to be the moderator. Then we're going to have 2 rounds of question and answers. Again, we really want this to be interactive and getting your views. And then we'll be summing up. In the next part, we will be looking at the grand bargain. Really, what were some of the key takeaways? So Puji, thank you so much for your leadership there last year. And we are looking forward to be able to take up your leadership forward. Next slide, please. So we will be really looking at what are some of the key discussions that happened in the grand bargain that was held last month. And then we'll be taking question and answers and really wanted to get your views. So we're going to be doing some polls as well. And then we'll be summing up and what are some of the next steps. Next, please. So we wanted to introduce you to A4EP because I know maybe we are not so well known, but actually we've been doing a lot of work on localization and really pushing the advocacy to ensure that all these commitments that are made in Charter for Change, in the grand bargain, that they're actually being implemented. So could we please play the video, please? So this is the introduction video to A4EP and is there subtitles. There are
Alliance
also
for
subtitles.
Empowering Partnerships is an alliance for local, national and international organizations that are advocating for a more just and equitable aid system. It provides a platform for information dissemination, sharing experiences, evidence, good practice, and learning. Each member leads their own advocacy at country level, and where possible, at global level, they collaborate and contribute to ongoing research and debates, and develop consulted and commonly agreed positions and advocacy strategies around localization, participation revolution, and transparency. We belong to and work with communities before, during, and after disasters, and we are there for the longer term. In 2016, the international aid community came together at the World Humanitarian Summit to make humanitarian aid more effective for the future. At the summit, an agreement referred to as the Grand Bargain was made. This called for more means in the hands of the people in need and reinforced the key role that local responders play. A4EP is the 63rd and US signatory of the Grand Bargain. We know that not enough local voices are included in the decision-making and the governance of the Grand Bargain. It is essential that we work together to ensure our voices are heard. The commitments of the Grand Bargain and Charter for Change are more institutionalized at country level and are tracked for more accountability.
Thank you. Great, thank you so much. So there you go. You have some information about who are the members of A4EP and what is our mission vision. So that's great. So I would like to now know, like, who is in the room with us. So if you can launch the poll, then we can find out who else is in the room with us in terms of what regions they are from, what kind of organization. Ashutosh, if you can put the poll up, please. Excellent. Right. So here are two questions, right? Who is in the room? What kind of organization do you belong to? And which region you are from? We are very interested to know that. So please fill in the poll when it comes up on your screen. So start filling it up so we know who the 93 participants, where are they coming from? Really looking forward to seeing who you all are. Continue to fill out the polls. I hope you all can. If you cannot answer the question, do put your hand up if there's a problem, okay? Okay, Angelina, you will not be able to take part because you're part of the panelists. Sorry about that. Discrimination going on here. Thank you so much. So can you share what we have so far so we can just let people know? So that everybody can see. Can you share the results, please?
So I'll end the poll now.
Yeah, just end it because we know it is just a quick check to see who we all are. Great. So excellent. CBOs, 2%, local NGOs, big percent, 27, international NGOs. Excellent. And then if you can go a bit down so we can also see the regions people are from. Okay, so we have 49% from Asia, so big show up for Asia, 31% from Africa, and a small percent from Middle East. But look, everybody welcome. We are really looking forward to hearing from you and your questions and all of that. Let me share with you what are some of the objectives of this session, and then we will start our discussion. Can we have the slides up, please? So let's start with the objectives. Thank you. Great. So really, it's a program to really focus on shifting the power. We've been talking about shifting the power for a long time. How can we make sure that decision-making and resources are shifting to local actors? Of course, including women-led organizations. You know, how can we achieve this collectively so that we are working more sustainably for the communities that we're working with the rights-based approach at the center? It's really important that we share examples and stories of local leaders who are actually supporting their communities. What are some of the barriers and also some of the opportunities that arise from it? Share some good examples by international actors, the partners who are working with local organizations on what they are doing to shift that power, right, to more localized approach. So we are really looking forward to hearing that. And then, of course, we'll be sharing the updates on and how the grand bargain commitments, for example, are impacting the humanitarian sector as a whole. And also, as Puji had said, get more information from you. What are your thoughts about it as well? Next, please. So the key takeaways really we want is really to ensure that there's been a good learning, right? And good practices that have been shared in terms of shifting the power and the realization of localization. And also, sharing the Nexus approach, how do you sustain the initiative and dignity, upholding the dignity and rights of people? And of course, we want to visualize what's the future and in the light of the current issues that are here, and how do we move forward? I think Puji put it very rightly. It's really important that we all come together as local actors in solidarity with our allies and partners, international partners, to ensure that we really move forward with the focus on communities who are affected at the center, right? Because it's for them that we are doing this. So it's really, really important. Next, please. So we wanted to do a quick Mentimeter with you to find out what words come to your mind when we talk about all these issues about transformation, shifting the power. We'd be really interested to know what are some of the words you would use to describe that. And you will see that there is a Menti, there's a link there. Can somebody please put the link in the chat for me? Okay, so here it is. You've got the Menti link. So please just click on the link and you'll be taken to, to the Menti page where you can start putting in words. What kind of words describe issues around this aid transformation for you? You may think about inequity. Maybe there are other things that you would like to talk about, power, other issues. So please go in there and just fill out some words so we can really see in our room here what we think about this subject. It's really important that we get to know from you what are some of the key issues that you think and the words that come to mind. We are talking about transformation of aid. Is that okay? And everybody okay with that? If you have a problem, please don't hesitate to just put your hand up. And if you can't get the link, not seeing the link, okay, perhaps we can put it in one more time so that people can see it. There you go. The link is in there again. So please click on the link and then let's see what comes up. And maybe we can start projecting what is coming up so that we can see how the words are flowing. So I think everybody can get in there. I think everybody can get in there. So power imbalance, compliance, excellent. Colonizer mindset, inequity, trust, willingness. Great. These are all the issues. I think you will start hearing some of these already when we are talking. Continue with that. This poll is open for 2 days, so you can continue to add words, and we will make a word cloud from it, so we can have the information from you. You can stop sharing the screen now. We will get on with our session. So what I wanted to do is really hand over to Nanette, who is going to be now moderating our panel, and very exciting panel. Nanette, over to you.
All right, thanks very much, Smriti. Yes, yeah, quite excited actually to welcome our panelists for this first session. But first of all, I would like to thank first the organizer, DEPROSC Nepal and C4 Uganda and Oxfam for the support in organizing this summit and for having A4EP as a partner. And yeah, I also would like to say hi, Dr. Puji. Really nice to see you here again, our partner in this localization advocacy and our partners from the Philippines. And yeah, I've seen actually a CBO leader. Like really nice to see this very grassroots leaders starting to participate in this webinar and linking with other local actors around the globe through this technology. Yeah, I'm assigned to moderate this first session, and it is my honor to moderate and welcome our distinguished panelists to share their experiences and insights, views, and perspectives on this summit that hopes to showcase practical approaches for a sustainable and just humanitarian system. Well, having been involved in the advocacy for localization in aid for many years now, from local to national to international level, I hear a lot of hopes as well as frustrations in the system. So in the Mentimeter, you've seen, we have seen those words that actually show those frustrations, but also those like ideals on when we say localization of aid. So I just do hope that webinars like this that put actually into spotlight local leaders. Yeah, I hope this would really contribute in hastening the process for reform in the aid system. So yeah, in this panel discussion, we will be hearing those concrete experiences and of course there are insights as well as perspective. And I'm pleased to introduce and welcome our panelists. And first, she is the founder and executive director of Hope Restoration of South Sudan, a women's rights and child rights advocate organization. She has chaired the National NGO Forum and represents the national NGOs on the UN Humanitarian Country Team in South Sudan. And I'm really excited to hear her sharing. And please help me welcome Miss Angelina Nyajima Simon Jial. Please spotlight Miss Angelina. Yeah, okay, welcome, Miss Angelina. And our second panelist is the head of the Asia Department of Maltesser International, an INGO. So from a national local actor, I'm really excited to hear, also from the perspective and experience of an INGO actor. She has over 30 years of experience in the humanitarian and development sector as well. So it would really be interesting to hear from her, for she has been the driving force for localization and the focal in developing a new partnership and localization approach of Maltesser. So together with their local partners, so please help me welcome Ms. Cordula Wasser. Our third panelist, she is a university professor and Sharia lawyer by profession, but she's a very active local CSO leader and serves as the chair of the Lanao Provincial Women Council in the Philippines. Being among the displaced of the Marawi crisis, she also serves now as the lead convener of the Marawi CSO's Convergence group for Marawi Rehabilitation. I'm delighted, and please help me welcome Bae Padoman Guro Paporo. Welcome, Bae Padoman. All right, so but before hearing their sharing, I also would like to recognize my A4EP colleagues, Iqbal Uddin of Coast Bangladesh, and Yamuna Hassani of Community World Service Asia. They're based in Pakistan. They would be assisting me in engaging the online participants. We really would like to make this panel discussion as interactive as possible. And yeah, so after our first session, I would also be turning over to Smruti to moderate again the second session on Grand Bargain. All right, of course with Ms. Fatima, our colleague from also A4EP. All right, I just would like to throw my first question to Angelina. Yeah, Angelina, In your experience with hope restoration in South Sudan, what challenges and barriers do you face in responding to the needs of the community? And in your view, what changes do need to take place to transform the international humanitarian aid system so there is a shift in power in decision making and to make your community response more effective? Angelina, over to you.
Thank you, Nanette, for your question. Honestly, I think there's couples of challenges that I face during our intervention. Number one is the context of persistent conflicts and insecurity. We also have drastic gender inequity and prevailing impunity, which exacerbate its prevalence and contribute to its normalization of gender-based violence toward women. We also have inadequate funding for humanitarian programs. South Sudan has been, for couples of time, funding has narrowed down and needs keep coming up every day. Recently, we've been having for nearly since 2019 with flood in the country. And this has already displaced a lot of population that needs emergency humanitarian response. We also have the situation of prevailing insecurity and impunity, and this particular with the armed personnel. In a way, they go on a rampant raping of women. They also do a lot of unimaginable act of violence toward the population, and no one is holding them accountable. This creates a situation of fear for the humanitarian workers, because in some scenario, humanitarians are also being targeted, others are being killed, and others are being threatened to get evacuated in a location. We also have the impunity by the government themselves, failure to ensure security sector reforms. This has been a big challenge, because the moment there's no reforms within the institution that is supposed to be providing security, it becomes impossible, and even the belligerent groups take advantage of the gaps and also tend to terrorize the population. We have inaccessibility to the affected population by humanitarians. This couples with, at times when there's some fighting locations, humanitarian cannot manage to access the most vulnerable population. Second, when you try to check the location where there are extremely massive flood, there's no road mobility. So you cannot rescue the population on time. This has been an issue. We also have inadequate coordination. This is sometimes among the humanitarian actors who are operating in the area. So what happened here, when you don't have proper coordination, you are not able to really do the intervention you need, or at times you tend to do duplication of work. So if you don't know who is doing what, you tend to bring the same resources and you do the same operation together. So that is wrong. But when you have like proper coordination, service mapping in the area, you know what is needed, what are the gaps, and who are responding, either from health, from food security and livelihood, from gender-based violence, from child protection or education, all that. Now, the changes that I wanted, first of all, we need to have access to more funding for us to respond better. And this comes to, we have to commit to tackling gender inequalities and promoting all women's and girls' empowerment. This is through social protection programs and systems with the view to build more resilience, because much of the projects that are being done, at times it's not, it doesn't have a long-lasting vision. It tends to be all on emergency, but we want to see how do we also bring in the scenario of having resilient recovery and development part of it in our response, that it should not be emergency throughout. Then we also need to invest in gender poverty and vulnerability assessment, because one key challenge we've been having, at times when you want to respond, do you have like a national database that inform your programming, or you just walk up and develop your proposal and respond? Because by the time you have such data in place, the assessment, it will inform what has been done and what are the gaps. We also need to see how to improve the data disaggregation, collection, quality, and analysis. We have to also, whatever data that has been collected, it has to be analyzed. Is it a data that is qualified for the response, or it's below the standards? You have to have the Bureau for Statistics to be part of such data collection. Then the other thing, you also need to enhance, strengthen the judicial system. And when I talk the challenge about the armed forces getting away with all the impunity, when we try to build the judicial system and make it more strong and hold the perpetrators accountable, we are going to have the scenario where we live in peace and will not have such fear among the citizens or the people we are trying to save. The other thing we need to do, joint fast track the implementation of the 2014 joint communique. This is mostly for South Sudan because we had signed the communique, which was signed by the president and the United Nations to address conflict-related sexual violence. Now, when you try to look at it, it was really signed, but is it being rolled out? Is it being followed? What has been done within the provision, or it has not? And if there are provisions that have not been done, why are they not being done? Because the major context we are in is more on conflict-related sexual violence across the country. Now, we also want to look at convey a high-level dialogue with political and security personnel. These are specifically on sexual violence in the country, which is mostly South Sudan, where I'm operating. Because a lot of this has gone unnoticed. You report, nobody's taking action. So how do we also come to address this? And in the final one, we just need to improve on the coordination among the various humanitarian actors. This way, we will cover more. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Angelina, for that very rich sharing of your concrete experience in South Sudan. Lots of barriers indeed, no, and challenges that you are facing. That of course, as you've noted, can also be like addressed effectively if there are some reforms, as you've noted and you recommended in the humanitarian system. Thank you for that sharing, Angelina. Hearing from Angelina's experience as a local leader, I think it's really good to hear also at this time, the experience and views from the perspective of an international actor. So we have heard now those specific recommendations on how the humanitarian system should reform and should improve to address those specific barriers, a lot of those that have mentioned by Angelina. So I would like to turn to Cordula. As an INGO actor, could you please share with us concrete example of how you and Maltesser are doing things differently to contribute in transforming the aid system that could possibly result to those recommendations that Angelina has pointed out. Cordula.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to be the panelist because last year, Maltesser International, my organization, started an organizational strategy process. This is a really broad-based strategy process, but one of the key strategic themes is the topic of localization. I'm the champion of localization, and together with local partners, but also with colleagues worldwide of Maltesser International, we are at the moment developing a new partnership and localization approach. And as a panelist, I would like to share with you some aspects, what Malteser is doing in this strategy process and how we would like to contribute to transform the aid system. So, but before I start with this strategy process and what we are doing, please allow me to say one sentence to Malteser International that you have the background information, otherwise it's maybe difficult to understand. Malteser International is a medium-sized NGOs based in Germany and in the US. We are doing development as well as humanitarian and working on the nexus. We have a budget of approximately 87 million per year, working in 25 countries, approximately 130 projects per year, have 950 employees worldwide. But we implement already 50% of our program volume by local partner organization, and 60% of our projects are implemented by partner organizations. So we have already reached the grand bargain commitment, but we would like to advance localization further. And in this strategy process, which will take approximately 3 to 5 years, as I said, the most important strategic theme is localization, because it changed our way of working. And so it affects each and every other strategic themes which we have, like digitalization, learning, also our sectoral themes. So it's a very, very important theme for our organization. And I would like to share 2 of the key elements of our new localization and partnership strategy of Malteser. The first key element is that partner implementation will be in future by default. That means that each and every new project which is planned by Malteser International, together with the partners, will be implemented by the partners. And there need to, all the program teams in the field, they need to answer the question if they propose to the board or to the leadership of Malteser, if they are suggesting a self-implemented project, why not with local partners? And if there's a good justification for it, they can still do it, but they have to make sure that in this program already, the assessment of a new partner, the capacity building of a new partner is already integrated, that in the next project cycle, a new partner can be implement this program by its own. And the second key element of our strategy is that we would like to improve the quality of our relationship with partners by long-term, equal and fair partnership, which are based on the principles of subsidiarity, complementarity, solidarity and accountability. We want to have strategic partnerships which are purpose-based and not only project-based anymore. They are grounded on shared values and trust. And for us, it is important that, the whole idea is that we are making decisions together with our partners and bringing out the best of each other, of Malteser and the partners. And in order to advance this, strategic 2 key elements, we are working currently on 4 major areas. The first area we are working is we are in the process elaborating a new partnership policy. We adapt all our partner guidelines, tool and templates. We do that not alone, but we are consulting our partners. We did the partner survey and the partners, they gave input, but we also have this year regional consultation workshops with all our partners that they can contribute to the new policy. The second area we are working is we mainstream the new localization and partnership approach afterwards in our organization. It's a huge task because each and every level, each and every employee, each and every department needs to know, how the new way of working of Malteser is. So we have to adapt all our existing tools, all our project cycle management tools which are existing. We have to revise them. We have to see if they really fit to the new partner approach. We have to train our staff members. We have to inform all our partner organizations that they can make us accountable. We will set up a meal system, and we are at the moment preparing a localization self-assessment measurement that we have a baseline for the beginning, and we can measure over the period of time how localization has the impact on our organization, but also on the quality of our work. And we analyze and adapt our staff structure at a MI HQ level, but also in the field. So because we need other expertise if we are working with partners, we do not have any field staff anymore not immediately, but in the future. So we need a new structure that we are fit for purpose. A third pillar is that we are creating a global network of strategic local partner organizations connected closer and very sustainably to MI. So we will have really strategic partners which we support long-term, not only project-based. We invest in capacity exchange, in institutional and organizational development. We give the local partners the opportunities to really have access to all MI knowledge management platforms, and we have joint learning opportunities, and we will have regular exchange workshops and joint country programming together with our partner organizations. And last but not least, we advocate for the new localization and partnership approach and for the localization agenda in general towards the public, the donors, and the private supporters and other stakeholders, because we are convinced that this is the right way to go. And so we display also the new approach also in our visibility guidelines, in our public relation, that also the achievement of the partners is really promoted in our communication work. And we participate in different localization fora as Maltesser International, and we pilot localization programs worldwide. We are part of a great program, the Together program, which is implemented with 40 local organizations and 3 international organizations, Caritas, Welthungerhilfe, and Diakonie, which we are implementing in 8 countries with 40 local organizations. And with this program, we pilot many new ideas, how to assess, how to select partners, how to do capacity exchange. And we learn from this project a lot, but we also plan to do own Maltesers international localization program in future, and to share all these innovative ideas with the public and also with the donors. So this was in short our approach of advancing localization and how we try to contribute to transforming the aid system. Thanks for your attention. And if you have any question, please feel free to share it in the chat. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you so much, Cordula, for sharing that inspiring effort in that changes and reform being done already within Maltesser, and being the champion within your organization. I think having a champion is really key, in moving forward the changes within the reform, and hearing from you like a grand bargain commitment is already somehow achieved, and you're advancing further. It's really inspiring to hear from as a local actor, and your tools revision and this making yourselves accountable that Angelina actually highlighted in her sharing as a challenge actually, and in the partnership, and your approach of ensuring that your local partners are part of the process, you're engaging them, consulting them. I think it may not be immediately address all those needs of your local partners, but as shared by Angelina earlier, those challenges, a lot of barriers, even the gender violence, etc., that they are facing, the insecurity, etc., in the context setting. If local actors are actually part of the process in the conceptualization, in the policy, considering all those, certainly, the support of international to their local partners would certainly become more effective. So hearing from the sharing of Cordula from Maltesser, it could be exciting to hear also the experience and perspective of a very local actor in the Philippines. And yeah, of course, I know Padoman, being an IDP herself, with the sharing of Angelina from a conflict setting, I could see that she could resonate that experience of Angelina as well. So, Padoman, based on your experience as a local CSO leader and IDP yourself, what do you think? How can the people best prepare to deal with crisis or conflict, and how could the NGOs, the internationals and NGOs best help? And how you think, the humanitarian aid system reform to be, what should be the reform, to be made to be able to best help the people affected of crisis and make the help more sustainable and just? Dr. Padoman. Over to you. Please unmute. You're muted.
Hello, thank you so much, Ma'am Nanette, Antequisa. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer, of course, the Seaford from Uganda and the DEPROSC from Nepal for inviting me here at this today's summit. Good afternoon again, guys. And Assalamualaikum, and I'm so happy for all of you in joining us on this platform. Well, as a conflict-affected person brought about by the phenomenal 2017 Marawi seeds, the first thing that we did was try to organize, try to engage ourselves, it is a CSO local or the local CSO lead effort. We try to come up with a document, and we call it, I'm trying to have it here, Ma'am Nanette, to show to our participants. We say this is the Bangon Marawi CSO platform. This has been made for purposes of trying to give a guide for duty bearers, meaning the national government, the local government, and the humanitarian responders on how to address the Marawi recovery, reconstruction, and Marawi rehabilitation towards an IDP-centered, culture and faith-sensitive, inclusive, accountable, and peace-enabling Marawi rehabilitation. That is the first thing that we did in trying to, prepare our people on dealing with the Marawi seeds, by which in this document, we try to document on how we are to deal on relief assistance, both in the food and non-food assistance, on how are we to, give our people temporary shelters, permanent shelters, how are we to give them household items, hygiene kits, these are emergency responses, and non-food relief assistance, which came in the form of psychosocials. We have artworks, health and trauma management, sports activity, education, and peace building. We are just so lucky that when we try to engage the duty bearers, particularly the task force Bangon Marawi, as we collaborated with them, and finally the gains that we have is that we were recognized as third-party monitoring team of the task force Bangon Marawi in the monitoring on the project, on the status, or on the progress of the Marawi rehabilitation. The third milestone that we have for Marawi is our rally, our lobbying effort, with the national government, particularly the House of Representatives and the House of Senate, in trying to lobby for the approval of the Marawi seeds compensation law in order for, say, like it give hope to conflict-affected persons in Marawi for, for reparation and compensation for the loss of life, for the destruction of properties of conflict-affected areas. That's a great milestone that local humanitarian actors, such as the local civil society organization, has worked for the Marawi rehabilitation. And my proposal, ladies and gentlemen, is that there has to be close collaboration of humanitarian responders in armed conflict. Why? This would involve international INGOs and non-government organizations, as well as local CSOs and NGOs. The purpose of this is to prevent duplicity of programs, projects, and activities in addressing conflict or crisis, to avoid redundancy of humanitarian responses. Third is to have a specific and clear implementation of programs and projects and activities for conflict-affected persons. I have a question of trying, this has been a question of when we were, affected by the Marawi seeds, that at least we try to see what's wrong with the existing approaches on humanitarian aid system. International agencies give people in need what they think is best, what these agencies have to offer, so that the impact of that is what is provided does not meet people's needs and preferences. There has been no trust and confidence to local humanitarian actors. Third, insufficiency or insufficient and limited funding. Fourth, there has been too stringent funding requirements, that documentation and papering requirements are hardest to comply. Donor lending agencies are not visible to the recipients at the earliest opportunity, that we do not know whom to deal with. There has been delay also in the delivery of programs, projects, and activities. So what INGOs and NGOs could best help so that we could improve the humanitarian aid system? First, there is the need to address the causes of crisis or conflict. Because until and unless we could address the causes, then there is no way by which we would know what to do in the next, or what are the ways forward that we have to do. Second, that we really go for survivor community-led response. Why? Because we have to give people in the community what they themselves say, what they need most. Because the impact is survivor and the community must be consulted on what they need most over the type of assistance they will get and how they will get it. We always claim to our tried and tested slogan, nothing about us without us. Anything to do for conflict-affected persons must be, there has to be consultation or maswara. By then, by being consulted, it will give us greater dignity, confidence, and control over our lives. So again, I'd like to repeat, we go for survivor community-led response. And then we have to know also the livelihood income generating preferences of conflict affected persons. Next, we have also, I'm talking from the Marawi perspective, conduct capacity development training on livelihood preferences of conflict affected persons, which has to be held in their place of origin for purposes of accessibility and logistical requirements. Next, we have to organize them into self-help support group of say 10 to 15 members. And we have found this very effective, preferably a group of family members. And also in the temporary and permanent villages or the permanent shelters, there has to be established cooperativism in villages for conflict affected persons. And we must have monitoring and evaluation of implemented programs, projects, and assessment of how these programs and projects impacted people and communities. So, as a takeaway statement, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, in conflict affected areas, we have to remember nothing about us without us. Consult and engage us, collaborate, and we cooperate. In crisis, you give, we receive as we want it. Yeah, we'll live a life anew. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and peace be with us all. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you very much, Bai Padoman, for that very rich, insightful sharing of concrete experience as a local CS leader and as an affected person of crisis yourself. Nothing about us without us, and your experience of being able actually not to represent the IDPs, ensuring that their dignity and rights are protected, and also advocating this for agencies, to also have this considered in their programming and improve, in their approaches. So there are very specific recommendations on making it bottom up instead of top down. Really, the trust is really very important, and so you're actually saying the nexus approach is very important in our humanitarian response. So yeah, we have also heard a lot with this sharing. We have heard there's so much actually to the need to do to really reform the aid system. And we have heard also from Angelina earlier on the decreasing funding that they are receiving as observed in various communities. And but there's so much increasing needs, and we know, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, how it is impacting the humanitarian aid as well. And of course, we have to consider also the Ukraine-Russian war that is actually getting the attention of many humanitarian aid. So I just would like, before going to the participation of our participants online, just briefly, I just would like to ask, what do you think, Cordula, perhaps, just very briefly, what donors can do to ensure that there is transformation in the way aid is being distributed? Having heard Ma'am Padoman and also from Angelina, what should be done to ensure more equitable partnership between donors, NGOs, and local partners? So before we just go into the interactive discussion. Yeah, Cordula?
Yeah, okay, I will start. We as Maltesers and also our partners, we advocate always for multi-year and flexible funding. I think the project-based funding approach, which still all the donors have with fixed log frames and outputs and outcomes, makes no sense anymore in a world the humanitarian crisis come again and again, and where there needs to be a combination between development and humanitarian aid. So my dream is, and we advocate for that, donors provide funding for countries or regions, for consortia, and these consortia consist of local and international organizations where the complementarity is clear, and that in these programs we have the flexibility to react to crisis and to distribute the money between the partners in a very sporadic way where it is needed. And then the next thing is also, the next topic is really that, there are so many forgotten crises. And as the panelists have also said, COVID and still the hunger and all the crises are so ongoing. And at the moment, the Ukraine conflict is the one who is really on the major focus of all the donors. And I think it's very, very important that we always say and advocate also to the donors that, for these forgotten crises, and that no one is left behind.
Yeah, thank you so much for the flexible multi-year funding, and for donors, they call not to neglect those other crises and not to forget them. So at this point in time, I would like to call on my colleague Iqbal. If you have seen interesting questions from our participants, and that you could share with us and address to our panelists. Iqbal?
Yeah, Nanette, thank you very much. While the panelists are discussing, we are seeing some very good questions in the chat, and I have picked up some of them that seem to me very interesting. And what I have seen, Rajan Ghimri from Maltesser International, who posted one question saying that local national organizations' reaction in the current humanitarian ecosystem, prioritization of their intervention, and humanitarian reform. So I think it would be good from Rajan. He asked so many questions. So Rajan, would you be please unmute yourself for 90 seconds, identify and share your thoughts. That would be, I think, good to hear from you. Rajan, you have got 90 seconds.
Thank you, Iqbal Bhai. Particularly, sharing when I was listening, it was really very good insight that we got it. Again, my question was there, as many times whenever we talk about the localization and shifting the power and the local leadership within the current humanitarian ecosystem, there are so many dimensions and then approaches. Again, how this all implementation has been done at the field level, at a country level or location level. Whenever we see back, do the organization, particularly the local organizations and national organizations, feel that these all the existing ecosystem, the architecture, humanitarian architecture that we have in the country and locations, does it fit to the commitments that we have done? Does it fit to the area that we are looking, shifting the power and the local leadership? So that is, it was one of my questions to Angelina, particularly looking the context, being the local organization. And there were some of the questions also I had about, particularly this role division, clarification of the role among the actors, intermediaries, national and local, as well as, how we can bring the local partners, national or local, into the decision-making structure. So these are the only, the two areas, the question that I had. One goes to the Cordula, another goes to the Angelina. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Rajan. Nanette, I have got another question from, another two questions from Gumsha. He's from Myanmar. He says about risk sharing under localization and localization challenges. So Gumsha, can you hear me? Would you be unmute yourself for 90 seconds and share your thoughts, please, with the audience? Gumsha.
Thank you. Thanks to all the panelists. It is quite important that when we consider localization and power imbalance, one of the things I also would like to raise the current humanitarian architecture, how much that provides space to the local humanitarian actor. Normally, all this humanitarian architecture are very much internationalized and sometimes conflicting with the local agenda. In this regard, also, I would like to hear from your perspective. Another one is also when we look at the power imbalance, how local and national organization could also act as an intermediate role. Unless we also looking at in this perspective, I mean the power imbalance. I also would like to hear a bit more from the panelists. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Gumsha. We have got so many interesting questions, some of them from Juliet Donna. She said how local NGOs and CBOs can leverage their location advantage to cross through the difficult security situation and accessibility problems in times of flood to provide assistance to their communities. So security and leverage their location so that they can provide. So what would be the option? Amy Crom also question to Angelina. What is missing from the current coordination structure, Angelina? So the specific question goes to you. And another to Cordula. What regions are Maltesser not part of the Grand Bargain and Charter for Change? So why Maltesser is not the member, so Cordula? There are lots of questions from people like Howard Mullert and Charles. So I will stop here. If time allows, we will get back to you again, and my colleague Jumna will help you in that part. So thank you from my side. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Iqbal. So quite a lot of questions, yeah. So yeah, hopefully Angelina, Cordula, and by Padoman, you're able to capture all those questions. But yeah, first Angelina, yeah. So there were like 2 specific questions addressed to you, about like shifting the power and how do you feel, no, like is the commitment really being done, and how do you see that shifting of power commitment, and how do we could leverage your location in addressing, I think, no, those your issues of security and flooding, and other issues on localization. Angelina?
Well, thank you, Nanette. I want to start first with the last question about what prevents us from the cluster system. I think someone has written. One thing that has prevented the local partners to be either co-coordinators, particularly for the case of South Sudan, the condition when you apply to be a co-coordinator, it's a full-time job, and you are doing the cluster work. So the cluster are supposed to cater for your salaries. But for the nationals, they give a condition. If you want to be a co-coordinator, after all the noise we've been making, yes, you can be the co-coordinator, but you paid on your own. The context of local partners, we are mostly project-based. We don't have like a mother country that give you some support in terms of some small money that can manage the position. So that make it so difficult for the partners to really take up that leadership, because we've tried to address it from the country here, that at least from SSHF, they need to see how they can cater for side, because it's very important. And it brings the issues of power imbalance, because most of the decisions are being made by the cluster coordinators or the co-coordinators. by the time it comes to the cluster members, it's already a decision that is passed. It's just about information sharing. But when it go back to the international partners, they're comfortable because they're already having such funding for such position. So how do we make sure it has to be fully funded by either SSHF or any other funding agency to make it known that it's also very important for the national partners to be part of it. Now, the second one, it's mostly about the local or the humanitarian ecosystem. Yes, we need to understand. I think there's funding, this donor party, and mostly for the context of my country, because whatever is happening right now, it's not more emergency as it was before. And we have other major emergencies that are responding somewhere. The funding scale is narrowing down. So there are some areas that, as much as you feel there's needs, but it's not being prioritized globally. And it remains with you as the local partners in that country to sort yourself out. Now, when you try to look at the operation has been almost 90% or 100% a top-down approach. And the top-down approach do not give flexibility for the local or the grassroots organization, because you are being given something that has already been decided, either from the HQ or from wherever it is. It's ready, it's not flexible, it's rigid, and it might not be for the benefit of the vulnerable people in that community. So our argument as local partner, do we need to be flexible enough to allow us to also decide? We can say, okay, this is okay, the funding is yours, but can we, those that you are supporting, also have a voice? Our communities know what they want. Yes, you have the money, but we are the ones that are suffering. Allow us to speak. You don't just impose things on us. And this has been the reforms we want. Now, when you come back to the issue of the localization process, honestly, I think in my context here in South Sudan, localization agenda has a really long way to go, because each and everybody are using it as it fits them. If I'm the national partner, I will use it because I wanted funding to come to the local partners. And if the international organization, by them having maybe national staff working with them, that is how they look at their own localization agenda. So one of the meetings we had in the HCT, we agreed we need to host at least a meeting where international UN agency and nationals need to come together and define what is localization agenda for the context of South Sudan. And we are still stuck there. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelina. There's just like a follow-up on that. There was a question on how do you think, like, national organization serving as an intermediary as to address power imbalance?
Well, for me, I would say I don't think if they are really intermediary as such, because if you are an intermediary, like what I can say international organization are to the donors towards the nationals, it's not those powers, it's not what the nationals are having. Yes, we are the one responding to the local crisis, but do we have such decisions to say this is what we want or this is what my community wants? So for me, I still feel the word intermediary, it's still not justified enough with our context.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angelina. Yes, I'd like to go to Cordula for the question. And yeah, there was a particular question also on why not you're part of the GB or the Charter for Change. And yeah, I would like also, perhaps you could also respond to some points raised by Angelina.
Yeah, okay. Concerning the Grand Bargain Commitment, after the World Humanitarian Summit, we reported voluntarily to the Grand Bargain Commitment. But it's a huge bureaucratic administrative workload, and we decided to put our emphasis on our real work in the field and to our partner organization. It's the same for the Charter of Change. When Charter of Change was established, they had this 25% commitment, and at this time already Maltesers already had 30% of the programs implemented by partner organizations. So we fulfilled already the Charter for Change, and we thought what would be the added value, especially for our local partners, if Malteser International is part of it, and would be the cost of Malteser to do that. And actually, the reporting is so burdensome, and to invest these efforts not in reporting to Charter to Change or Green Bargain, but to invest these efforts to do really capacity exchange with local partners, I think it's much better. So this is the decision why we decided not to do, but I fully can understand that other organizations decide in another way.
Thank you, Cordula. Yeah, just like to hear from Padoman. Yeah, on the power imbalance, yeah, there was this observation that in the humanitarian architecture, it's very internationalized. So how much space do you feel is given to local actors based on your experience? As asked earlier.
Yes, Ma'am Nanette, from the viewpoint of a conflict-affected person myself, I would say that let us localize. Why? The very point that we have observed is the delay in the delivery of select programs, projects, and activities of international non-government organizations and donor lending agencies. Because we would always say, from our observations, we would always say, don't delay. We need help ASAP, as soon as possible. Like in the implementation of programs and projects for Marawi Rehabilitation, it will take a year, months, year before these things could be at the hand of conflict-affected persons, because at the end of the day, we try to give help to conflict-affected persons, so that it is not that you give and then there is, because understandably, from the viewpoint of the international organizations, they try to give, there is the project design, there is the documentation requirements, and why the delay? Now, so it has to be, the power has to be shifted to local actors. It is only in the matter of doing the assessment. No, how are these projects, how are these programs impacted people, impacted our communities? That is controlling.
Thank you, Padoman. So we have 10 minutes left for this first session. Yeah, so perhaps we can just like consider one question or two max. Yamona, like very interesting question that you have seen in the chat. And then can be briefly answered by our like one or two panelists. Yamona?
Yamona, you're on mute.
Yes, hi, hello, sorry, I've unmuted myself. Thank you, everyone. This has been a very interesting discussion. We're talking about shifting the balance of power, and this is a key concern for all of us, that how do you shift that power? And it's not easy, obviously. We talked about the important point, Madam Padoman, you talked about the assessment of local partners. And then you talked about having systems that can enable local partners. And then Cordula, you also mentioned a very important point about how you have adapted your own standards in the local context. So I would like to first ask Ms. Cordula, how has that process been? And what advice would you have to the organizations who are struggling with all these different templates and you want to localize that information and those templates? That's one question for Cordula. And for Ms. Padoman, I have a question, which is about, you said during conflict, when there's an emergency crisis, there's a lot of duplication of activities and programs and work. Why is it that even after so many years of experiencing crisis, we have still not been able to figure out how to have better communication systems? What has been your experience? So I would like to ask these two questions. If there is time, if the moderators say yes, then we can ask one question from Cordula and one from Madam Padoman.
Thank you very much, Ayumana. Yeah. So, Cordula first.
Yeah, I think developing new templates and processes, new structures, documents, and guidelines and policy, it's very important that it will be done in a very participatory way. Participatory means, together with the local partner organization and very, very close consultation, but also participatory at all levels of an organization, field level, HQ level, but also each department, because you cannot, localization is a cross-cutting issue. It's not a standalone issue. So our communication department has to change. Our HR department, they have to set up a new structure and new TORs for our employees. Our quality and accountability department have to be fit, and they have to know what does it mean to work with partners. We have to set up a learning platform, that the partners have access to. So it's a very, very participatory way, and I think it needs to be an intrinsic way. So it's not that when one organization formulates its own policies that, I can share it with everybody and then you can just take over. No, it's really this process, and the process is the most important thing. Yeah, because this is already one result and one important step forward.
Thank you very much, Cordula. And by Padoman, why?
Yeah. Thank you, Ma'am Nanette. And I could not remember who posed the question. Thank you so much for the question. Yes. I am really very thankful that all the issues as regards humanitarian actions, humanitarian responses. This is really the summit today is an answered prayer for us. At least we were able to amplify our feelings towards our donor lending agencies. But duplication of projects is one issue on the fore. Why? Because there are so many agencies, say like Save the Children. They're trying to engage themselves on education issues. There are other also international agencies like the Pathways engaging in education. So at least in order for us that there would be no duplication of projects, which means that is why we propose close collaboration. Say like in Asia, all those in international agencies trying to operate in Asia has to have that kind of a paradigm shift that only say one organization is handling on education, so that we would know how far these organizations would have to impact on education, like on health, say on trauma management. There has to be only one agency that would have to tackle this, whether it be disaster, a crisis, whether it be armed conflict, so that why? Apart from duplication, we would always have accountability of humanitarian actors, whether or not the projects has impacted our people, whether or not the programs have benefited our communities. So that is why there has to be exclusivity of programs, projects handled by specific agencies. That is why we propose a close coordination of humanitarian actors, humanitarian responders. No? So there again, I would say there has to be uniformity of programs handled by specific international agencies to avoid duplication of projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vice Padoman. And we have a few minutes left. I just would like to hear last remarks from Angelina.
Well, for me, I can just say the initiative we have taken, it's quite great. And I want us to still try to always reflect back in each and every institution where we work to really see what is it that we are not doing right. And why do we also feel our counterparts, mostly the local partners, are always complaining? Is there anything that we are not doing right? The same to us as the national partners. What is it that have also been improved from the side of the international, and we build from it? Because it should not be a blame game. We're not going to move. But when we see the positive impacts done by the other part, we have to celebrate it and build from it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Angelina, for that brief but very insightful remarks. Yeah, and Cordula, would you like to say your 1 minute last remark?
Yeah, I think localization is a process which we all have to undergo in the next few years. I think this is a must, more or less, because I think the humanitarian system needs to change. One thing what I always questioning is really that the salary scales, the different ones from local NGOs, international NGOs for local employees, and especially the UN. I think as long as in the humanitarian system there's so unequal salaries for locals, we as internationals and especially the UN are doing always brain drain of local organization. And as long as this persists, I think we cannot change the humanitarian system because, you know, local employees go to the internationals and to the UN. So we think we also have to advocate for fair salaries and equal salary scales in the different countries. And I think this is very important to have a sustainable system.
Thank you very much, Cordula, for that very important remark and ensuring a sustainable humanitarian system, ensuring that locals, all those will remain with the locals, not with the international. Yeah, Bai Padoman, for your last remark.
Yes, again, Ma'am Nanette, thank you so much. A parting statement.
Yes.
We try to suggest a repeat of this summit, wherein we would like to have really a localization agenda, so that we could, from that formulation of the localization agenda, then we will not go astray, and that we will be able to convince our international humanitarian actors to go with our localization effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bai Padoman. Wow, what an insightful panel discussion, and thank you very much for all those who have contributed as well. So many points and takeaways, but as what we have heard, localization is a long way to go. Based on the experiences, concrete experiences of Angelina in South Sudan, Bai Padoman in the Philippines, and of course, those questions from our participants as also showing those remaining challenges and barriers that we have to face. But there are also a lot already of those ideas on how actually to address all those challenges and barriers. So we are not actually short of ideas. We have lots of those already on how to reform the aid system. And the Maltesser Cordula has shared with us how actually to advance those commitments concretely. Maltesser is already doing a very concrete effort to make the commitment into reality. So hopefully this session has enabled to challenge everyone in here. So we have seen in the early part in the poll, we have here participants from the international as well as from the local actors. So at this point in time, I would like to call on Shrimurti to share also the points that she has captured for takeaways from our participants. And thank you very much for this insightful session.
Thank you very much, everyone. And what a great panel, right? And some of the I'm not going to repeat everything because there's so many good things, but I think 3 key points that I wanted to just pick up. One is that message that we have to work together to make progress, right? All one or the other is not going to do it. And that message about blame game, right? I think this is so key. We really need to work together and recognize, as Cordula said, it's a process of the whole organization needs to come on board. It's not just of one champion, because the champion by themselves will not be able to do it, right? So as an organization, you have to have everybody on board. And that thing about, and I think Angelina's point that how do we make sure, and Paro's point that how do we make sure that we are really addressing the things that come from the community with their involvement? And how can we make sure that there is enough flexibility of funding and also decision making so that we are working together to improve the situation? For sure, it's going to take a long time, right? But I think that if we work together, that it can happen. But there has to be some kind of roadmap. I think South Sudan, Angelina, when you were talking, I think she might have had to leave, but having a good roadmap, a multi-stakeholder discussion is really important to make systematic progress. And that will help to make sure that we are really working together. I'm going to leave it at that because I think it's all been said. So I just want to say thank you very much, Angelina, Cordula, Pabma, for this wonderful sharing. And I hope the participants have taken a lot from that discussion. What we are going to do now is share a little bit more about what's happening in the grand bargain, because we had said to you the second session is really going to be about, there was a grand bargain meeting in June, and we want to share back a little bit about what were some of the key takeaways from there, and also what's the way forward. And I think Puji put it right at the beginning, right? That we want to make sure we all work together and support each other. And as A4EP is now going to be in the facilitation group, we really want to hear from you about how we can make sure we can take your voices there and your voices are coming down. So both ways, right? But before we start, I wanted to say, Fatima, welcome. So Fatima is going to be the representative like Puji in the facilitation group for A4EP. Fatima, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself, please?
Thank you very much, Simruti. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone. My name is Fatima Shehu Imam. I'm the Executive Director of Rehabilitation, Empowerment and Better Health Initiative, a local organization in Northeast Nigeria. I'm also an ICC member of Alliance for Empowering Partnership and also the newest shaper of Facilitation Group. I have really big shoes to fit into. So thank you and over.
Thank you very much. So what we wanted to do is to start off with, everybody keeps talking about the grand bargain. Do we all know what it is? So I wanted to do a poll just to find out about people's kind of knowledge, because this is one of the issues, right? Maybe not everybody knows about the types of commitments. So can we launch the first poll so we can just get people involved in this discussion? If you can, yeah, launch the question for the grand bargain. Okay, so here we go. Here are two questions which we would love to hear from you. Firstly, and just do the first one first, right? How much do you know about the grand bargain? And of course, it's it can be it's a single choice. Actually, it should be a multiple choice, but never mind.
No worries.
Thank you. Just please fill in that poll, the first question. We will look at the second question afterwards, but fill in the first question because we're very curious to know how much people actually know about the grand bargain. So let's reflect. So just close the poll. I don't know whether the people have had a chance. I know there are 84 people online. If you haven't had a chance, it's okay, carry on. But I just quickly, let's project the result of the first question. Oh, we've got both questions, which is great. Okay, so there are 27% who know a lot. And 41% who know a little, some who don't know at all, 23%, and want to know more. This is great to know because this will also help us to see how we can play our role to increase the understanding and also be able to see how we can take it further in terms of the country level as well. So can we have the presentation, please? I think I would like to hand over to Fatima to just take us through some of the key points that came out of the discussions in the grand bargain. And then we will follow on afterwards with question and answers and really get your views. Fatima, over to you. And if you can put up the presentation, please. Thank you.
So thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Smruti, again. So I think firstly to really congratulate the panelists for a very excellent conversation. It was very insightful, it was very enriching. I could, sense the passion from all the panelists. So again, thank you very much. So if I may start to say that the grand bargain is actually the only platform where we have donors, the UN, the international organizations and local actors who actually come together, to collaborate and to try and find solution, to challenges, for effective and efficient humanitarian response. So the slide has it starts playing on the 30th of June and 1st of July. There was a meeting of the grand bargain signatories. Please, the next slide. There was a meeting of the grand bargain signatories wherein we had, like I said, donors, the UN, the NGOs, the Red Cross societies and local actors who gathered in person on the 30th as well as virtually at principal level on the 1st of July 2022. And there was this agreement, on the way forward by presenting and identifying key strategic actions to be undertaken by June 2023 to achieve the two enabling priorities, which are first and foremost, ensuring that there is a mass of quality funding, that allows for effective and efficient response, which ensures visibility and accountability. And then secondly, to ensure that there is a greater support for the delivery, for leadership, delivery, and capacity of level responders and the participation of affected communities in addressing humanitarian needs. Next slide. So like I said, after 2 years, it was the first time that we were having an in-person meeting, because the previous years, because of COVID, of course, it was all virtual. And you could sense the excitement in the room, you know, excitement for signatories coming together to meet physically. That will also be seen in the concrete outcomes that they were putting forward throughout their interventions. So again, during the meeting, there was this emphasis on the increasing global humanitarian needs, whereby it was highlighted, just as I mentioned earlier, the grand bargain enabling priorities of ensuring or making sure that aid reaches the local people, talking about people in crisis and improving the quality of funding, but especially participation. And also there was this recognition that the reason why the grand bargain, or the problem why the grand bargain has not been able to actually go so far, is because a lot of actors actually focused on their own interests and preserving their share of power, which actually made it very difficult to arrive or find consensus. So there's this outcome report that was presented by ODI, and there were some very, very interesting findings, you know, talking about there is this increase in the multi-year and flexible funding. However, that has not actually translated, you know, to keeping up with the increasing needs. But then also what was very notable was the fact that only a small proportion of local actors actually were reached with that. So while international organizations and UN organized agencies were actually getting more multi-year funding and flexible funding, it did not translate to them transferring that to local actors. And then secondly, direct funding to local actors actually reduced by half between 2020 and 2021. That is from 4% to 2%. And that is with many signatories not tracking or transparent on the funding of to local actors. So there's also another very important finding that affected people have little to no influence on program planning and implementation. And I think just as some of the panelists have reiterated during the conversations, that most often than not, local actors and people in need are actually not consulted in the process of designing on planning of programs that will really show what their needs are to be able to address them directly. So this is very interesting. Just trying to say that some of the points that have already been discussed during the panel are also noted on this report as well. So next slide. Okay. So there were some recommendations, very, very interesting recommendations. There's this recommendation on ensuring that there is equitable distribution of quality funding and ensuring local leadership and enhancing institutional capacity. And I think that resonates with Angelina's point, where she was emphasizing that some of the reasons why actually local leaders find it difficult to assume leadership positions, especially within coordination systems, is because some of these positions do not have funds to support them, or some of them really need to have those institutional capacities strengthened to ensure more effective coordination, but also to ensure more effective participation and voices of local actors. That will ensure, and I think looking at the recommendations, that we give affected people meaningful influence over aid provided, to give them that space to decide what they want and not to have tailored or decisions already made on their behalf without due consultations. There's a recommendation on strengthening governance and accountability, and also to ensure that the monitoring and reporting is simplified to ensure better tracking of progress. So, on the way forward, there is a lot of discussion and conversations around the future of the grand bargain. So during the meeting, there is this agreement that that there should be an inclusive and transparent process, who can be like a survey that would now inform feedback from all members, And the key word is inclusive and transparent. That consultation needs to be very inclusive and very transparent to ensure that the future of grant bargain is all inclusive. But also, what is also unanimous is that energy and that agreement to actually continue with the grant bargain. UN OCHA, with some UN agencies, also agree that the grant bargain process should continue. However, that they need to integrate some elements of the grant bargain with the existing processes, such as the IASC. I think this is commendable. This is really a good point from the UN. However, I think what we need to note is that some of these processes are actually very closed up, such that there is no, how do I put it now? Membership, for example, of the ISC is closed only to UN organizations, and some other entities need to be there only by invitation. That we will really need some external, probably like evaluators, you know, to ensure that there is fairness in the process. So the local and international ING community also would like grant bargain to continue, and noting that that is a platform that allows for exchange on important commitments with all the stakeholders, and it is also an opportunity that grants local respondents to access to international actors. The donor representatives also really agree that the grant bargain should continue, acknowledging its uniqueness and also agreeing that this platform brings stakeholders together. However, bringing the perspective that the process should be lighter and synergies with existing fora should be ensured. So in wrapping up the discussion, the EP actually made a very, very important commitment by reiterating that the grant bargain signatories need to take leadership roles and to actively participate. If you allow me, he mentioned that humanitarian appeal has increased tenfold since 2004, which further exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting socio-economic catastrophe and the global food security crisis caused by the war in Ukraine. This calls for more collective funding to frontline responders and to better engage with the people affected by this multiple crisis, in the exact words of the EP Jan Egeland. So, as is already mentioned by Dr. Puji, and I think Simuluti mentioned that too, the Alliance for Empowering Partnership is succeeding Nia as the local actor representative in the facilitation group of the Grant Bargain in the final year of the Grant Bargain 2.0.
I think at this point, Fatima, we were thinking about, let's do a poll with the participant, the second poll, right, which is around what should be the future, right? Because we want to know from you, should it be closing? Should it continue? So can you please, yes, exactly. So please, if you can fill out the poll, and as you will see, it's now multiple choice. We would love to hear from you what your thoughts are, because we really want to take opinion from the different participants to also feedback into the discussions that are going on in the facilitation group, and also feedback into how the survey may be constructed as well. So yes, please try and fill it out and then give you a minute, and then we can see the results so that we get some kind of indication what people think, right? As you see, one option is closed, one is continue as it is, another one is continue with choice changes for short time, continue for changes for longer term. This is also some of the things that are coming up, and ensuring that implementation is at country level and increasing the tracking and accountability at country level. So please let us reflect, close the poll, and maybe let's reflect what we have so far. Wow, great. So here we are, right? Close, none, so 0. The majority opinion, I think, is we continue. we continue with changes, but I really see the thing about continuing for changes for longer term, and that really is resonating, and ensure that implementation at country level and the increasing tracking and accountability. Thank you so much for those who did the survey. We will make sure that we have these results so we can also feed into some of the questions that are being asked. Fatima, over to you. Sorry, I thought this was the interesting thing to make sure that we put up.
It's fine, Smriti, thank you. So please, can we have the next one so we continue with the presentation?
I'm not sure why we have the, okay.
Exactly. Okay, so just to say that during the two-day meeting, signatories met or continue with their own commitments, you know. So for A4EP, I would like to say that in addition to a lot, we have picked 5 of the commitments that we really would want to focus on in the coming years. So A4EP commits to continue to raise awareness of local actors at country level, and also expand the space for more local voices to be present in the grant bargain process. And I think for me, this is very, very important. Like, it's particularly important to ensure that the awareness about the grant bargain processes and as well the commitments by the signatories is raised at country level. However, it's also equally important to ensure that by A4EP assuming the position of the facilitation group, we expand the space for more local voices to be present. How do we intend to do that? First, we intend to have regular consultations with the NGO signatories, you know, including, for example, local actors from the localization work stream, but then also maybe just before the facilitation group meeting, hold a regular consultation with local actors at country level, so that we can have discussions on what challenges are happening at country level, at field level, that we can be able to feed back into the facilitation group. And then secondly, we can be able to also ensure that we consult voices. So I was saying that another way that A4EP intends to engage with local actors is also by sharing, you know, assessments or surveys, for example, on the future of grant bargain, to ensure that your voices and your opinions are actually represented through either the survey or maybe through consultations, and that actually fits back into the facilitation group. Also, we intend to work at country level localization framework, which has already started in Philippines and in Jordan. That is also a reflection on views and recommendations of affected population for more system-wide change. As it is currently, we do convene regular dialogue between donors and local actors, but we intend to continue to hold more regular conversations with an aim of understanding what the challenges are. There is also that commitment to push for fuller reporting and transparency to ensure better accountability of funds raised in the names of population in crisis, but then also to ensure that funds reach directly or as directly as possible to the local organizations, particularly in context where there is no pooled fund. Way forward. As I mentioned earlier, as one of the commitments of A4EP, engaging and ensuring that we raise awareness of the grant bargain process, we intend to hold consultations with local civil society organization constituencies to inform about progress and feed into the grant bargain discussions, especially around continuation of the grant bargain post 2023. And then how implementation is proceeding in the countries. A lot of times we need to make sure that there is this feedback at country level into the global level. And we need to ensure that we we fill in that gap. Then any other specific issues that should be flagged through the facilitation group. When we hold regular consultations with local actors, we intend to bring in all those challenges, all the missing links, and also share information and feedback from the field through the facilitation group. I think so far so good. I don't know, Simruti, is there anything else you would want to add at this point?
Yeah.
Over to you.
Great, thank you, Fatima, for taking us through that, and and your new role, right? To start actually doing that, that feedback into the different and the consultation. Just to say that there are also certain commitments that have been made through the caucuses, right? So we've had one caucus on cash and voucher assistance. We've had one on intermediaries. We have one on quality funding, and there are a couple more that are coming to make sure that we really, feed into those as well. So when there are opportunities, we'll also see how we can share information through newsletters and other things as well. I wanted to just quickly open for questions for 2 minutes before we need to go. But please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to put your hand up and ask your question. You have, you have our details here, our website. You can also send us questions or any ideas as well. We'll be able to share our email through the participant list, because we would really like to hear from you, either verbally, or if you want to make a video and send to us, you're welcome to, or by email. So please, if you have any questions, do put your hand up just for a minute so that we can get any questions. Yes, please.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Mulagan. I'm from Ethiopia, working as country project coordinator for Together program. My question is, do we have any study or some kind of assessment which inform us where we are in terms of, transforming the promise being delivered at Grand Bargain into action?
Thank you for that question. And I just want to say, so earlier Fatima mentioned this country level framework that have been developed. So for that, we had actually used the 7 dimensions framework to help people look more systematically through, where are some of the key issues. So there was like a multi-stakeholder process, and we hope those tools, including making sure that community voices are heard, so we can share both the tools if it's necessary and if it helps the at country level. So if any of you are interested in doing this process at country level, but it's a multi-stakeholder process, please be in touch and we can see how we can help with that. Thank you very much. And Shaimal, please. Shaimal from MGSK. You have your hand up.
This is Shamal.
Shamal, please. Yeah, please. Shamal, so we don't hear you. So I'm going to stop there because I know that the time is up. And what I wanted to do is thank everybody for being here with us and taking part in this session. We will continue this discussion. And I think, Puji said this morning when we first started, this is a start. And this is only start of the process. So we're going to continue this in different ways. We're going to continue this conversation So please don't hesitate to be in touch. A4EP is now going to be active in helping to gather the views and really connect with the different people. And it's our solidarity as local actors and international actors together which will take us forward. So I just want to say thank you to all the panelists, and Iqbal and Yamuna, thank you so much for facilitating the question and answers, and all the participants, because without you, this would not be such a rich discussion. So thank you for taking part, and we hope to see you soon, and we'll be in touch shortly. And if you want any materials, please, I think, put in the chat, and then we can perhaps share. And I'm sure that, and I want to say thank you to the hosts, right? Because they have Ganesh and also I saw somewhere, did I see, I can't see them now. But you know, both Seyford and our Nepali colleagues, Ganesh and others, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity and giving us the space. And of course, Oxfam and all the background people who are actually really helping at the back, and the translation. Thank you so much for being there, because without you, we cannot make this an open and transparent process. Thank you very much, everybody, for being there. Bye-bye for now. Thank you.